I want to talk about how we could find the perimeter of irregular shapes using what we learned in a previous video about circumference. So first thing I would just always think and remind myself here about perimeters, the perimeter is simply adding up the lengths of all the sides. Okay, so here, you've got this like one side. I'm just going to mark them. 1, 2. I'm going to use tally marks. You got a third side here. You got a fourth side here. You got a fifth side here. And then you have this kind of circular piece that we'll get to in the end. So you'll notice, of course, that the first side in my tally marks was 15. Then the next side in my tally marks was 20. And then 9. And then 14. But unfortunately, I don't have a tally mark for that fifth, or I don't have a length for that fifth side. So I'm going to figure out here if I could find it. So I know this side right here is 15. This side right here is 9. Well, it looks like if I were to extend this right here, well, 9 plus x would be 15. Well, then x must be 6. And I think that's the same length right over here. So I'm going to add 6. And finally, this kind of curved part. Well, remember the circumference of a circle is pi multiplied by the diameter. But we're not talking about the whole circle. Despite my rudimentary drawing here, I meant this to be half of the circle. So we don't need the whole circumference. We only need half of it. Okay? Well, let's figure out this whole side right here was 20. Whole side was 20. And then here we have 14 units taken off. Well, that means this part right here is 6. So the diameter of my circle was 6. So filling that in our example, we have pi times 6 over 2, which of course is just 3 pi. So we could add all of those numbers together, and that would be our perimeter. If you wanted to actually, put in like 3.14, an approximation of pi, you could. I'm not going to add all those numbers together. I'm going to rely on the fact you could do that with a calculator. All right, let's do our other example. And again, just important, maybe I'll use tally marks again. Just say, okay, first side, second side, third side. We got the fourth side up here. And then we've got this curved part we'll have to deal with. And then, that would be like our fifth side. And then we'd have our sixth side right here. So we could start just kind of working our way around the first side, second side, third side, fourth side. And we'll come back. Well, let's do the circle right now. Remember, circumference is pi times the diameter. But unfortunately here, I'm not talking about the whole circle. I'm actually only talking about a quarter of it. So I'm going to divide by 4, like that. Okay, well, we got to figure out the diameter. This was 14 right here. Let's do some other sides. This was 12 right here, and this whole thing was 16. Well, that means that 12 plus x equals 16. Well, then x must be 4. Now you'll notice that's not the whole circle. Certainly if I continue this circle around like that, that would mean the diameter was actually 8 because the radius was 4. So in this case, if I can fit this in, we've got the circumference over 4 equals pi times the diameter. Remember, that 4 was only the radius. So it's 2 pi. So we'd add that on down here. Okay, that's that curved part. Because it's only a quarter of the circle. That's why we divide it by 4. All right, now, what do I know? Well, I know that this side is also 4, because that's the radius of the circle. So this side was 3. This side was 4. So I've got 7 plus this missing side needs to be equal to 14. Well, 7 plus 7. So So that side must be 7. I'll add that to the end, and again, I'm not going to type that in. I'm going to rely on the fact you could do that with your calculator. But there is my perimeter. So make sure when you're doing these problems, just take into account a few things. Am I counting every side? How can I fill in the sides I wasn't given using other sides? You know, like I did here, I was able to say, well, this one was 20 and this was 14, so that allowed me to figure out that difference was this diameter. This whole side was 15, this side was 6. Well, the difference then was this side. So fill in the missing sides, missing measurements using things you know, and then of course perimeter should just be adding the straight edges and then using your circumference formula to figure out the curved sides, and you know, just be careful. Like, this wasn't the whole thing, it was only half. That's why we divided the circumference by 2. Here was only a quarter circle, so that's why we divided our circumference formula by 4. If this video helped you, please like and subscribe for more geometry content.